Good day everyone! Our topic for today is about the project-based learning and multimedia. Our objectives: at the end of the topic, the students should be able to define the project-based learning and multimedia, identify the dimensions of project-based learning and multimedia, point out the advantages and disadvantages of project-based learning and multimedia. First, alamin muna natin kung ano ang definition ng bawat isa. Ano nga ba ang project-based learning? Ito ay isang teaching method in which students acquire new knowledge and skills in the course of designing, planning, and producing some product or performance. Ano naman ang multimedia? Ito yung combination ng mga multiple media formats such as text, audio, still images, animation, and video. One example of multimedia is slides, since it is a combination of a text and an images. So, ang project-based multimedia learning is a method of teaching in which students acquire new knowledge and skills in the course of designing, planning, and producing a multimedia product. The name project-based multimedia learning implies the use of multimedia, and the learning activity includes projects. Project-based multimedia learning has 7 key dimensions. These are core curriculum, real-world connection, extended time frame, students' decision-making, collaboration, assessment, and multimedia. Core curriculum. At the foundation of any unit of this type is a clear set of learning goals drawn from whatever curriculum or set of standards is in use. So, the process should focus on the new knowledge students can acquire by using project-based multimedia learning. Real-world connection. Project-based multimedia learning seeks to connect students' work in school with students' everyday life. What is crucial is that the students, not only the teacher, perceive what is real about the project. Extended time frame. Of course, it is not a one-shot lesson. It is important that students are given enough time to enable them to come up with a substantial final product from which they can derive pride and a clear sense of accomplishment. Students' decision-making. Students can make decisions about the form and content to their final products as well as the process for producing them. But it is clear to them that the teacher is in charge, and so the students understand that there are decisions which only the teacher can make. Collaboration. We define collaboration as working together jointly to accomplish a common intellectual purpose in a manner superior to might what have been accomplished working alone. Assessment. Regardless of the teaching method we use, data must be gathered on what students have learned. There are 3 roles of assessment in project-based multimedia context. These are activities for developing expectations, activities for improving the media products, and activities for compiling and disseminating evidence of learning. Multimedia. As students design and research their projects, instead of gathering only written notes, they also gather and create pictures, video clips, recordings, and other media objects that will later serve as the raw materials for their final product. Why use project-based multimedia learning? Because it actively engages students in the learning task, and students are also engaged in the production of multimedia. The advantages of project-based multimedia learning are: it enhances the effects of the presentation, retains the attention of the audience, and it can be used for educational as well as entertainment purposes. And the disadvantages are complex to create, time-consuming, and expensive. Thank you for listening.
Introducing project-based learning multimedia as teaching learning strategy. Project-based multimedia learning is a method of teaching in which students acquire new knowledge and skills in the course of designing, planning, and producing multimedia products. Remember that this strategy requires much time. We need to be realistic in the amount of time we have to spend, seen against time available or faced to failure and disappointment afterwards. To trim down time devoted to a multimedia project, on 2002, Simpkins et al. Suggested the following. Use technology students already know. Next is use time outside of class wherever possible. Assign skills, practice as homework. Use special classes as extra time. And let students compose text and select and prepare graphics and sounds as they plan. Various phases of the project. Phase 1. Before the project starts. The first one is to create project descriptions and milestones. Means identify is your project all about and describe it. The second is work with real. If you have people outside the classroom involved as evaluators, work with them to make an appropriate schedule and include their ideas as well. Then, prepare resources. Seek for assistance of your librarian or school media specialist. Next is prepare softwares and peripherals, such as microphones. Ask help to technical people. Then, organize computer files. Finding files eats most of your time if you are not organized. Then, the last one is prepare the classroom. Organize books, printer paper, and any other resources of student can access them independently. Phase 2. Introducing the project. It takes 1 or 2 days. With this phase, help the student develop a big picture to understand the work ahead. The first one is review project documents. Encourage your student to ask questions about the project to clarify what you have written. The second is to perform pre-assessment. Your students can write pre-assessment questions based on the learning goals to further clarify expectation. Third is perform relevant activities. You can also brainstorm for topics, organizational ideas, and design ideas. Fourth is the group students. It can be by topic interest, student talent or expertise, or student choice, or randomly. The last one is organize materials. Give each group a folder and ask them to put all the group work in that folder. Phase 3. Learning the technology. It takes 1 to 3 days. In this phase, give a chance for the student to work with whatever software and technology they will be using. If students are new to multimedia, begin with lessons that involve using different media types. Phase 4. Preliminary research and planning. It takes 3 days to 3 weeks, depending on project size. At this stage, the students should immerse themselves the content or subject matter they need to understand to create their presentation. Phase 5. Concept design and storyboarding. It takes 3 to 5 days. It is a process of organizing a presentation that is useful to the audience. Storyboarding is a paper and pencil sketch of the presentation, screen by screen, or in the case of video, shot by shot. Here are some few design tips to keep in mind throughout storyboarding and production. First is use scanned handmade artwork to make a project look personal and to manage scary technology resources, means student artwork is as much as a way to assure a project has heart. Next is keep navigation. This is the way of users of your presentation will get from one screen to the whole screen. Organize information similarity throughout so user can find what they are looking for. Next is care for collaboration. Check in with groups to make sure they are collaborating successfully. Then, organize manageable steps. Means, break down the project steps into manageable daily components. And the last one is check and assess often. This is to ensure that mistakes are seen early enough to be fixed. Page 6. Assessing, testing, and finalizing presentation. It takes 1 to 3 weeks. At this page, we have two kinds of testing. The functional and the user. The functional means trying and checking all the buttons, taking all possible paths throughout the presentation. And the user means showing the presentation to members of the target audience and finding out if they can successfully navigate it. Assessment on this phase means critical evaluation of your presentation. Page 7. Concluding activities. It takes 1 to 3 days. It is a way of presenting the project to the student. To summarize my presentation, here are the steps on the process of multimedia creation. The first one is the planning. In planning, you must set your goal, choosing a theme or specifying the purpose. Next is researching, collecting information from a variety of resources. The third one is organizing, arranging and displaying the ideas by writing, layout, graphics, etc. Next is developing, by putting everything in the computer. Next is communicating, by presenting the project to an audience. The last one is evaluating, to let you know what needs to improve.
Lesson 17. Assessment in a Constructivist Technology Supported Learning. Objectives. Define the terms assessment, constructivist, and technology. Discuss the assessment used in a constructivist classroom. Which form of assessment fits a constructivist technology supported learning environment?
Assessment is an ongoing process aimed at understanding and improving student learning, a process of gathering evidence of students' performance over a period of time to determine learning and mastery of skills. They have two types of assessment: traditional assessment and authentic assessment. Constructivist. They believe that people construct their own understanding and improving student learning. In other words, knowledge is constructed in the mind of the learner. Technology comes from the Greek word techne, which means art or craft of responding to the educational needs. In a constructivist classroom, learning transcends memorization of facts. Not just purely learn from memorizing, but learn from it, understand, not just know the meaning, but understand what does it mean, apply it so that we realize we learn from it. It is putting these isolate facts together, form concept, and make meaning out of them. It is connecting the integration of these facts and concepts to daily life. What then is the assessment practice that will be congruent with the constructivist thinking. The assessment practice that fits in the constructivist thinking is authentic assessment. It is most appropriate for the constructivist classroom. In constructivism, students should not be treated as passive learners, but rather as active learners exploring and going beyond the information given. They should be provided with authentic and challenging projects that encourage students and teachers working together. The traditional paper and pencil tests, like for example multiple choice, this is not valid to evaluate students using this only. Authentic assessment measure collaborate abilities, written and oral expression skills, analytical skills, manipulated skills, integration, creativity, and ability to collaboratively. In authentic assessment, students perform real-world tasks, thus the word authentic. It is an assessment of a process or a product. Authentic assessment or product. Product is a proof of the acquisition of skills. Authentic assessment performance is a reliable measurable of skills. Assessment in a technology-supported environment necessarily includes display of skillful and creative use of technologies, old and recent. Technology-supported classroom maximize the use of old and new technology, and the student learn from and with technology. Students are expected to demonstrate learning with the use of both old and new technology. From the eyes of constructivists, learning is an active, constructive, intentional, authentic, and cooperative process. So, should the ways in which we'll assist learners and the criteria that we use to evaluate them, obviously the traditional paper and pencil tests cannot assist this type of learning. How do we assist if our students have learned the constructivist way of thinking, behaving, and living? Use rubrics for understanding and improving meaningful environment. This is the way to assist our students that have learned from the constructivist classroom or that have learned the constructivist way of thinking, behaving, and living. Rubrics for understanding and improving meaningful environment. This is guide of teacher to assist his or her student. Assessing activity. Learner interaction with real-world object. Observation and reflection learner interaction tool use. Often or not, learner found and engaged in learning with tools outside of school. Learner reflect what they observe and learn from it. Learner manipulate and control an environment. Cognitive tools used for assessing activity. Assessing cooperation. Interaction among learner, interaction with people outside of school, social negotiation, acceptance and and distribution of rules responsibility. Assessed by socialization or interaction of learners. Learners often involves outside activity or socialization. Learners cooperate, work together with sharing what they understand. Learners capable accept all responsibilities given. Assessing construction. Dissonance, puzzling, constructing mental models, and making meaning. Assess from learner desire in everything. Assess learner by their creativity, solving problem, and understand in work. Assessing authenticity. Complexity, high order thinking, recognizing problem, right answer. Learner accept challenges as they exist in real world. They face tasks. Students expect can do, can solve hats, or high order thinking skills. Learners know what is the problem about. Learner with understanding. Learners can answer the right answer. Assessing intentionally. Goal directedness. Setting own goal. Regulating own learning. Learn how to learn. Articulation of goals as focus of activity. Technology used in supported of learning goals. Learner pursuing with goals. Learners are goal-driven. Learner responsible for developing the goal. Responsible for monitoring, reporting towards the progress of goal. Learner discuss to learn. Learners focus on each goal. In assessing intentionally, learner must computer literate or at least have an idea towards technology. Summary for this lesson 17. Assessment in a constructivist technology-supported learning. The assessment used in constructivist technology-supported learning is authentic assessment. How do we assess if our students have learned the constructivist way of thinking, behaving, and living? To assist our students if they have learned from constructivist way, use rubrics for understanding and improving meaningful environment. Thank you for listening to my presentation.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, classmates. I'm Janine, and we are now in Lesson 18, The Rules and Functions of Educational Media Center. Edgar Dale said, "The best in the world are to be found in a modern library, but the modern Educational Media Center must include excellence in varied media, and not just in printed materials." So sinasabi nga sa atin dito na for us to be able to have an effective and efficient learning experience, we must have an educational media center that supports our learning experiences. Ika nga sa principles of teaching natin, learning experiences must be meaningful. That's why we must have an educational media center. So ano nga ba ang educational media center?
It is a facility designed for the housing and utilization of all educational media within the school. It is more than a collection of instructional materials because it incorporates a systematic plan or program in the proper use and delivery of effective instruction. So here are the examples of EMC. Kung mapapansin natin, the materials and equipments are properly organized. Educational Media Center, Vision and Mission. So just like the other companies, agencies, and institutions, the EMC of course has its own mission and vision. It functions as a vital instrument as well as a basic requirement for the quality education by enriching all parts of the school's educational process.
So what are those vision and mission?
1. It reflects and supports the philosophy of the school. Number 2. It shares and implements the school's aims and objectives. Number 3. It is involved in the teaching and learning process. Number 4. It is a source center. Number 5. It is learning laboratory. Number 6. It is a teaching agency. Number 7. It is a service agency. Number 8. It is coordinating agency. Number 9. It is a center for recreational reading, viewing, and listening. And number 10. It is a stepping stone to other community resource centers and to desirable lifetime intellectual habits. So bakit nga ba mayroon din siyang vision and mission? Kasi nga, without vision and mission, they cannot identify the goals and objectives of the EMC, and they cannot strategize the development effectively. And now, let's proceed to the services. First, orientation. We must have to know the rules and regulations. That's why we must have the orientation. Para malaman din natin how to use and utilize such materials and equipments. And for us to be able to understand deeply the purpose of the EMC. So this is provided both for teachers and students since they are the main users of the program. Next is selection of prints and non-print materials. The librarians continually select and acquire print and non-print materials that suit the needs, interests, and special abilities of the student and teacher. During this process, the management encouraged teachers, middle supervisor, and administration to be part of the selection. Why teachers? Because they are the beneficiaries or one of the main users, so sila ang nakakaalam kung what are the lacking materials and the needs of the students. And sometimes, there are equipments that are obsolete already, so they have to upgrade the equipments. Organization of prints and non-print materials. A technical librarian organizes all the purchased print and non-print materials for easy retrieval. So to avoid any conflict when finding some materials, there is a computerized system to facilitate the organizational and retrieval procedure. Therefore, it is hassle-free to find what are we looking for. Circulation of print and non-print materials. The EMC lends out various types of materials to students and teachers to make it serve efficiently and maximize the use of resources. So, hindi lang sa loob ng center pwede gamitin ng materials. The EMC allows the students and teachers to borrow such materials, kagaya ng mga usual na libraries, because the objective of EMC is just like the libraries. It's just that the EMC is like a modernized library. They give greater impact and contribution to the development of education. Reference: the EMC attends to requests such as bibliographic information from the card catalog, search through books, periodicals, pamphlets, and non-print materials. So dito, there is support manpower inside the center that will assist or help you. Bibliographic service. There are listings of materials and periodical articles to publicize the new materials and periodical articles in the EMC. Inventories of materials and periodic articles are provided, which also highlights the new instruction ng materials for the information ng teachers and students. Media Instruction Program. The Media Instruction Program aims to teach students to be skillful and discriminating users of print and non-print media, designed to develop the habit of inquiry and stimulate the growth and development of the young mind independent thinking. It also aims to develop an appreciation of different forms of media. Class Supervised Research, a scheduled program of activity particularly in science and social studies. It refers to the class periods allotted to these subjects where the students are brought to the EMC to do the research for a particular topic. So in this context, they are given the privilege or time to research on their own with the guide of their teacher. Mags on Wheels, Selected professionals and general interest journals are rooted in the different grade levels and areas. The service is given to maximize the different subscription for professional and personal growth of the school community. Grade level newspaper. Each grade level is given a subscription to a newspaper of their choice. It is a service rendered to ensure that the faculty is updated daily on the current events locally and internationally. Photocopying service. A self-service photocopying machine is available for the faculty to Xerox materials needed. Students may also request photocopying of the library materials. A corresponding amount is video and sound production. Simple productions for class instruction, program, and school-wide presentations are put together in the audiovisual area. And last, multimedia services. Different non-print media materials are acquired. Teachers are encouraged to maximize use of their materials. The procedures for reservations and usage is teacher-friendly. Roles of Educational Media Center. EMC serves a myriad roles, among which are Center of Resources. In it, different forms of communication and their accompanying technology organized and housed for easy accessibility and use. Laboratory for Learning. It provides materials which will enrich and implement the curriculum. Agent of Teaching. It teaches students how to find information. Service Agency. All procedures are established as the basis of service to students and teachers. Coordinating Agency. It serves as central depository for various forms of media. Recreational Reading Center. It provides a variety of retrieval materials to fulfill the current needs of the range of interest and abilities for students. And last, stepping stone to other resources of the community. It introduces the students to the resources available in other community resource centers. Ang EMC ay nagbibigay ng iba't ibang uri ng serbisyo at ang mga serbisyong ito ay nakapagpapabuti ng teaching and learning process sa pamamagitan ng pagiging more interactive, collaborative, interesting, and authentic. So what must EMC have to be a functional EMC? So Lucido and Burabo give the following elements, and those elements has an evaluation questions to be answered by the EMC for them to be functional. First element is the institutional media service. Under these are the questions to be answered by the EMC. Second, media and instruction. Third, classroom facilities. Fourth, and the last one is media program. To sum up the lesson 18, ang EMC ay isang facility ng eskwelahan na naantasan na panatilihin at pangalagaan ang epektibong paggamit ng educational media. Ang EMC ay gumagamit ng luma at makabagong teknolohiya upang mas maging efficient and effective ang learning ng mga estudyante. It also ensures the optimum use of all instructional media. EMC organizes learning activities for the student and also for the teachers to upgrade their technology manipulative skills and to motivate them to keep on developing their communication, analytical, integrative, creative, and collaborative skill for a meaningful and lifelong learning. Salamat!